Hello, everyone. So now I'm going to take you through the role of the administrator, but primarily the focus here is we've navigated the administrator quite a bit, but the focus here is to show you the views of the administrator, but also show you how the administrator manages the requests that are coming through. The rule of thumb is if the administrator creates it, the businesses don't have to create it. So administrators create the credit notes, the businesses don't create the credit notes. The administrators will create an EFT, the businesses don't create an EFT. The business, on the other hand, will create an SMS campaign. The administrator is not going to be able to create an SMS campaign. The reason for that is some of the functions on the platform, especially the creation of business campaign and making purchases, is linked to the fact that you are linked to a company. Whereas the administrators are not linked to any company on the platform, they manage the platform. So the functions that have a company linked, the functions that are company linked, administrators are not allowed to operate with them. So, and an example would be, let's say we go to the purchase. If you're a user, you're able to purchase USSD credit, SMS credit, SMS masking ID, and USSD string. If you're an administrator, you get a notification that says no matching company. So you're not able to do that. And this would be the same if you were to do this for SMS masking or you were to do this for USSD string. However, um, there are functions when we go to SMS masking, which is important. Only the administrators are allowed to provide you with a masking name, and only the administrators are allowed to handle masking requests. So, to create a masking name manually is fairly simple. And why would you create a masking name manually? You would create a masking name manually if someone has purchased it through, if they've purchased it through, let's say, a credit note or an EFT payment. You have to come here and create it for them manually. So here, for instance, the process fairly simple. Select the company, and here let's select Bob Clark, and the user is automatically selected for you. Masking name, let's say Bob Clark Co. Right? Status, we say the status is active, and we confirm. The minute we do this, when Bob Clark logs onto the platform, Bob Clark would have a new masking ID allocated to him. You could go as far as looking at what are the SMS campaigns that are being run on this masking ID, right? And now the other case is, how do I handle masking requests? As an administrator, each request that is being loaded, I am able to see them, right? So I'll come on here and I'm able to see all of the requests that have come through. There are requests that are in draft mode. There are requests that have been approved. Um, and every request that comes through, I'm able to see them, right? So fairly simple. You're able to essentially look at all of the requests that are coming through. And you can tell if this request has been handled correctly. So was the masking activated or not? And you're able to essentially see what's the request status, for instance, and you're able to see all of them. Okay, which ones? And you could filter through um, by the proposed name, the user, the company name, the VAT name. So you're able to check. But if we say um, proposed the company name, and we say let's take a request that comes from the ideal would be Bob Clark. So say Bob, and you get the request from Bob Clark, and this request was already approved, right? Fairly simple. Get to see the details of it. It's like, okay, great. You're able to see them. Um, and if you go to SMS campaign, you're essentially able to see all of the campaigns that have been created. and their statuses. They've been created, they've been updated. You can click on the campaign name to find the details of the campaign, and you can go as far as to check the messages, right, of the campaign. So you're able to do quite a few things in an interesting manner as an administrator. You're able to view. USSD service, the same approach. When you go to USSD strings, you are able to create a USSD string and allocate it to a user. So if I go, say, create a USSD string, so string name, let's call it Bob, and let's call this one Bingo Galaxy. String code, assign this would be 490 hash. The company, let's go for Bob Clark. The user ID, select Bob Clark you as a user, then we select true and we confirm. And once we've confirmed this, we have all of the details that we need. Um, and you can tell what are the sessions linked to this. Is there a USSD campaign that is linked to this? Do we need to create a USSD campaign linked to this? Um, and as I mentioned, when you come here, it will say no matching company because you need to be a company to be able to create these things. And you can go and check the string request the same way you are able to check the masking request. You're able to navigate through the string request, and here you can tell, okay, for this one, for instance, mask it, B3, it's a draft, the payment is pending, um, this one has been declined, and you can navigate through these. They are fairly simple, easy to use, easy to manage, easy to adapt, and it makes it very, very simple to deal with. All right, I think now I just want to show you how you can actually handle these requests. So let's first start with a masking request. I think I showed you what it looks like and I explained a few things, but just to show you how that works. So we have a request here from Bob Clark that has been submitted. The proposed name is Mercedes Daimler. So we come here, we click on the proposed name, and what happened is we see all of the details. So what you would be concerned with as an administrator is to first validate the documentation. Is there a certificate of incorporation, right? This is obviously an example and it's not a certificate of incorporation. So normally this should be declined. Um, but what you get to see is request approval. So you get to decide if you want to approve this or if you want to decline it. So let's say I say I want to approve this. Would you like to approve the request? I say, yes, this looks good. I'm happy. And note here that it tells you what the tenant is, meaning what is the company that logged it. It's Bob Clark. Um, and I say yes. Once I've pressed yes, the system is going to validate it, and the system tells me the request has been approved, the request status has been successfully updated. And when I come back on my side here, you would see that the request status is approved. Now you would see the masking activated is still not active. So if I want to automatically, like we saw earlier, how do you create a masking ID? If I want to create it automatically based on the information that we have here, all I have to do is to click on create masking ID, and then you will get the in-app notification to say that the masking ID has been created and allocated to the user. And you would see that the masking activated status changes immediately. And that means that your masking ID has been created. You can go to masking names, for instance, and you would see Mercedes Daimler now existing here. So this works the same way as for USSD services. So if you come here, USSD strings, for instance, you would see there is no Mercedes Daimler here. It's very empty. Now let's go to the request and we get to see, we go, okay, what happens here? We're able to see the request, and there's a request from Mercedes Daimler from Bob Clark. We select it, so it has been submitted. The payment status is approved. That means the payment has been made already. Um, and you would see the tenant is Bob Clark, campaign proposed name. You get all of the details and the payment. And just like that, you see the same. You have the approve and you have the decline. Since we approved that one, let's decline this one. But they function the same way. You tell us why. I would say wrong document. Okay, wrong document. And I say, okay, perfect. And it processes it and it will say, yeah, your request has been declined, the request status has been successfully updated. And when you go to the request status, you would see this is declined and there is nothing else you can do here on this side. Now, the parts that's important and I have to communicate here is you do not create the USSD string manually. The USSD string needs to be provided by the network providers. Only once you've had it that you can create it for a user. Great. And as I demonstrated earlier, trying to create, you can view USSD campaigns. All of them that have been created, you can view. In fact, let's take an active campaign is the sales promo. So if we create the sales promo, you get to see the campaign, right? You get to see the USSD pages. So these campaign is all of these pages, and you can see all of that. But when you are trying to, so you could add a few things here for the user if need be, because we know that this is under this tenant, right? Um, However, you can't create a campaign on your own. So if I want to create a campaign, the system will tell me there is no company that matches. So you're not allowed to. Others is how do you view the sessions of the campaign? You create a new SSD session and you can see all of the sessions that have gone through, you're able to see. Now you can see what USSD string is attached to it, and you can export it in an Excel spreadsheet to CSV, sorry, by clicking on Excel export. But if you click on the, as you can see, it's been exported. When you click on the mobile number, you get to see what happens. You get to see the responses. So thus you can tell that they only got to the welcome page and did nothing else. So it was a quick connection and then they just left. And that's how you see the sessions. Now, when you go to account management, for instance, you are able to see as an administrator all of the purchases that have been made on the entire platform. When you go to credit summary, however, it says zero. Why does it say zero? Because you, as an administrator, do not have any credit. You're not linked to any company. And the company, when you go to the company document, you get to see all of the documents that have been submitted by the users. You get to see from which account it's coming from, and you can open the document if you want to see it. You see the details of the document. You can say, okay, let's open it. And it's the same. It's the same document. So it shows you what the document is. The API documentation is interesting. Here we allow the administrator to look. However, you can see the API key isn't there because again, this is the main administrator. They don't have any API keys. They are the managers of the platform. They are not the users of the platform. And all of the other section, as you can see, it's essentially that. So if they say view my profile, again, this is an administrator. Everything is empty, and the system just loads the API key that was on the platform initially. meaning that it's just a cache that is appearing. That API key won't work, and that's happening because I've probably overused the system, to be honest. But just to recapitulate on what these features are, right? There are some important things that we need to know when you're the administrator and you're basically handling SMS campaigns, USSD campaigns, and all the other components. So when it comes to the purchases, an administrator is not allowed to purchase anything because they're not linked to the company. That's one of the main principles. When it comes to SMS services, however, the administrator is able to manage the masking IDs, and the administrator is able to view the SMS campaigns that are going on and to track the result of that campaign as well. When it comes to the USSD services, same as the SMS services, the administrator is able to see all of the USSD services that have been created. They're also able to see um, all of the all of the string that have been created, and they manage USSD string, meaning they're able to create them manually. They are able to manage the request, meaning they're able to approve or decline a request. Same as what they do for masking ID. The administrator is also able to view all of the credit purchases that have been made while they are unable to make those purchases themselves, but they're able to access all of it. And the administrator is not able to see their credit because they're not linked to any company. There's no credit that they've purchased. And lastly, the administrator has access to all of the documents that are going through the platform because they need to see them, they need to vet them for KYC purposes, and so on. And when it comes to API documentation, they have access to it, but they don't have their own API keys in order to be able to run APIs, right? And that closes it for the administrator. And I guess I'll see you for other videos.